Wrestling fans from around the corner, around the world, I'm Dan Marotti.
And I'm Mr. USA, Tony Atlas.
It took him a second.
Always does.
Before we get to this great full-length episode of Memories and Legends, check out some of our great friends you can help support the cause to keep more Memories and Legends coming your way.
Irresistible force meeting the immovable object.
We're friends, Andre, please.
Maybe you'll believe this, Hogan.
You will never, ever see it again.
Austin face to face with McMahon.
Nobody tells Stone Cold Steve Austin what to do or when to do it.
And that's the bottom line.
Neither of these superstars is leaving this match without a few scars.
The story will end with me becoming the Universal Champion.
I don't think I've ever seen two more evenly matched competitors in my life.
WWE's Greatest Rivalries, available online or wherever books are sold.
Wrestling fans, check out the brand new lapel pin from our friends at Crimson Mask. Inspired by Stone Cold Steve Austin and Vince McMahon, it's Bang 316. Only $8 each or 2 for $12. If you think it makes a great holiday gift, give me a hell yeah. Get yours today at crimsonmask.bigcartel.com.
Amherst. On Sunday, March 24th, WWE Live returns on the road to WrestleMania with a massive main event as Braun Strowman collides with Baron Corbin in an epic battle. Plus, anything goes when Finn Balor takes on Bobby Lashley and Drew McIntyre in a brutal triple threat match for the Intercontinental Championship. And don't miss your favorite superstars. It's WWE Live on the road to WrestleMania in Amherst, Sunday, March 24th. Tickets are available.
This is Mick Foley.
This is Harley Race.
This is Shelton Benjamin.
This is Mr. Wonderful Paul Orndorff.
This is the Monster Abyss.
And this is Daniel Bryan.
This is JBL, and you're watching the MWF.
Be there live.
Wrestling fans, welcome to another episode of Wrestling Insiders. I'm Dan Marotti, joined by
Mr. USA WWE Hall of Famer 2020 President candidate, Tony Atlas.
Tony. The month of March is going to be very busy for us, leading into an even busier April. The road to WrestleMania has begun. WWE Tonight is going to be live just outside of Chicago at the home of WrestleMania 2, now known as the Allstate Arena. And the SmackDown brand is in Rockford, Illinois for a non-televised event. But you and I, we've been here every Monday. We had a big episode last Sunday before WWE Fastlane. Tonight, we're going to talk about two superstars that we've lost of late. We like to pay tribute to those we've lost. Like you mentioned, a lot of the time, some of the veterans are forgotten. WWE, for their own time commitments, they don't have all the time in the world sometimes to give certain veterans. But let's kick off the look at these two with a man that was the first Triple Crown champion in WWE history, a man that held the WWF World Championship, a man that held the Intercontinental title, and a man that briefly held the WWF Tag Team titles with Bob Backlund. I'm talking about the veteran Pedro Morales.
You know, Pedro represented the wrestling world very good. I mean, I travel with Pedro up and down the road. You know, he loved his Cadillac, loved his good food, and we'd hit somebody, Whopper, baby, you know, Whopper, you know, and he was a true gentleman, and I think, if I'm not mistaken, he held the title almost and sucked up to Bruno Sammartino.
He held it for over 1,000 days. I think it was 1,027 days.
He held the title for he had a record there, a lot of sellouts in Madison Square Garden. You know, so he was right up there with Bruno Sammartino and in that class. So
I believe, other than superstar Billy Graham, Pedro Morales, I should say, had the highest percentage of sellouts for his title matches of any wrestler ever, including Bruno.
Yeah.
The Puerto Rican community in New York supported Pedro like none other.
Tremendous.
I don't think he was as big of a draw in a market like Boston that was heavily Italian like Bruno was, but in New York City at Madison Square
Oh,
Garden,
he was
Pedro
king.
was unreal.
For many, many years. And he was always a perfect gentleman. People that had met him was always very, very well dressed. They were a perfect gentleman. So, like I said, after Pedro finished his career with the WWF at that time, he never made no appearance. I've been on many events, many wrestling shows, and I think when Pedro quit, he just quit.
He did one or two here and there. After his time in WWF, he did do a little play-by-play work for WCW's Spanish show in the 90s.
Right,
but
right.
Since then, he
But
just
on the independent circuit was almost like invisible.
He retired back to his home in New Jersey, and then unfortunately he became ill in recent years.
Yeah. I used to go to New Jersey. It was a gym I used to go to, and I asked Pedro, I said, Pedro, some guys asked me about getting your numbers so, to use you on some shows. I'm retired, brother. All I do, I come here, I work out, I go home, I work on my house. And so when he retired, he retired.
He was done.
He was done. It was, and I'm sure that a lot of people that love the met him. There are very few people got a Pedro Morales autograph.
I actually have one. I met him at the 1995 Cauliflower Alley Club in Newark, New Jersey. I was lucky enough to get on with Tony, the Jackal, and the studio director, Pat Doyle,
you wanted the fortunate one because he never did a lot of autographs.
I enjoyed him a lot when I was a kid, even though by the time I started watching wrestling in 1986, he was pretty much mop-up job duty for him on TV.
Right.
But I had known from just reading the wrestling magazines that this is a guy with a hell of a history that was... He held all 3 championships. This is a guy I should know a little bit about.
Yeah.
So even though when he'd come out at the Boston Garden for live matches, it would usually be to lose, I was always interested to see him as someone that had such, as a word we like to use a lot, he had credibility.
A lot of credibility. He, like I say, he represented the company in many, many great ways. He was one of the best wrestlers you ever want to meet in person. I mean, he was always a pleasant, always had a smile on his face. Very, very professional, was never late, never missed a show. He's going to be well missed.
Were you around during your Saba Simba run? Was he still an agent at that point?
Yes, he was.
What was he like as a road agent compared to a wrestler?
Very good, the same as a wrestler. Well, see, we all knew him. Mm-hmm. And he knew how to relate to the wrestlers as one of them. Mm-hmm. So nobody got offended by anything he said or done because he knew how to approach you. He never talked down to you. He always had a smooth way about the way he did things. So he was highly respected by all the boys as an agent.
He was a good communicator.
Very good. Had good people skills.
Any road stories or adventures with Pedro over the years that you can recall?
Unfortunately, no, because I rode mostly during the Pedro era. I rode mostly with SD Jones because he was my partner at the time. So mostly I was around SD Jones. And Pedro, mostly every time I saw him, was always by himself.
Did you have a chance to work him? Well, you two were both
mainly
baby faces, right? Never had a chance to work them.
Yeah,
in
we didn't work each other. Yeah, it would have been a pleasure to work.
Yeah.
I've worked with him in tag matches. I was in a couple of tag matches with him.
What were your observations with him as a worker?
I thought he was excellent. Mm-hmm. He was very good. Very, a lot of old school. Mm-hmm. Now, in today's floor mat, people probably would not like his work as much.
They might find him boring?
Exactly, because it was a different environment.
Right.
Because like I said, in my day, we were primarily concentrating on making it as realistic as possible. So the moves were not as important as the believability of the match.
In the early 70s, is certainly a predecessor for those that look at WrestleMania or Starrcade as the first big events. Bruno and Pedro had a 75-minute time limit draw at Shea Stadium, the home of the New York Mets. The Shea Stadium had a few big WWF events throughout the 70s.
And I drew that picture for Bruno and gave it to him before he passed away.
What was the picture of?
They in Shea Stadium, Pedro and Bruno, and Pedro is down, and Bruno got him in the R-bar.
You actually had a drawing of it.
Yeah, I got it.
I wish you had a copy of it. That would have been great to include with the show.
I would make next time you see me, I would bring that down. I got to look for it.
And I got it. You gave it to Bruno?
I gave the original, yeah.
And what did he think of it?
Well, I did it through Dominic DiNucci. So Dominic took it and gave it to him. So I never got to respond back, but Bruno always talked well of me, and he was. Dominic said he loved it.
I'd like to have Dominic in the studio, someone that's still with us, luckily. We always complain about how we lose so many guys before we have a chance to...
I just saw Dominic not too long ago in upstate New York.
Really?
Me and Tito Santana, we was at a thing not too long ago.
Really?
And Dominic was there.
How's he doing?
Great.
Good spirits?
Yeah, lost a lot of weight. But,
really?
Health-wise, fantastic, yeah.
All right, how would you like to remember Pedro Morales? How do you think the fans should remember this great wrestling legend? WWE didn't give him a heck of a lot of airtime, so to speak, when he passed away. Here on Memories and Legends, we like to remember those that we've lost.
A great wrestler, great champion, a great friend. Not only to the wrestlers, but to the wrestling fans also. He was a class act. People like Pedro and Bruno Sammartino, when these people leave, they're very, very hard to replace because they came from a time where they had to represent, once you make them champion, they act like a champion. Like if you meet Bob Backlund now, he act like a champion.
Classy.
Classic. You meet Ric Flair, classic. You know, Nick Bockwinkel, who's no longer with us, he was the same way.
Holly was very classy when he was here in studio.
Yeah, Harley Race. It was just that era of that time where people represented themselves in a certain manner where today they don't. Well, some do.
Some do.
But you don't have a large group of guys like that come along once in
a generation.
In a generation, yeah.
All right, wrestling fans, I hear the music in the background. We're going to take a brief time out. When we come back, we remember another lost superstar in recent times. Stand by.
Chicago. This Monday, March 18th, Monday Night Raw returns with an incredible main event.
Listen to this place!
Former brothers reunite as The Shield, Seth Rollins, and Dean Ambrose team up to battle Drew McIntyre and Baron Corbin in a tag team match. And Finn Balor collides with Bobby Lashley for the Intercontinental Championship. Plus, Brock Lesnar, Ronda Rousey, and Braun Strowman. It's WWE Raw live in Chicago this Monday, March 18th. Tickets are available now.
They're ready to take their rightful place amongst the literary greats. Who, you ask?
The New Day!
That's who. It's the Book of Booty. Shake it, love it, never be it. It's the feel-good story of the rise of the New Day. Loaded with games, trivia, coloring pages, and so much more. The Book of Booty. Shake it, love it, never be it. Available now, online, or wherever books are sold.
Rockford. On Monday, March 18th, WWE Live returns on the road to WrestleMania as AJ Styles and Randy Orton clash for the first time ever in Rockford, one-on-one. Plus, Charlotte Flair and Asuka collide for the SmackDown Women's Championship. See Kevin Owens, The New Day, and many more. It's the WWE Live Road to WrestleMania Tour on Monday, March 18th. Tickets and WWE Superstar Experience packages are available.
Yeah. All right, wrestling fans, welcome back to Wrestling Insiders. We remembered the late, great Pedro Morales, but now we're going to talk about a gentleman that also recently passed away last month, Tony, that he may not have been a main eventer, he may not have been the world champion for WWE, but certainly someone that contributed from his heart, from his soul, from his life to the sport, the king of sports professional wrestling, Salvatore Bellomo.
Salvatore, now I do have a story about Salvatore.
All right, let's hear it.
Bellomo. We rode together a lot, and I was crazy about Salvatore Bellomo. And the one thing he always talk about, and that Tony Atlas is running late from the show, and Tony Atlas would stop in a restaurant and sit down and eat. And Salvatore used to tell me, Tony, there's a Burger King right there, there's a McDonald's right there, you can get the food to go and eat in the car. I wouldn't do that in my bodybuilding days.
Really?
So I had to go and I wouldn't eat junk food. So every time I stopped to eat, sometimes we'd be running late, but I would always, he said that Tony would always stop and get a good meal. And that's the thing that he talked about all the way. And another thing he told me about too, and I never went back. I put money in the bank in Allentown. And the lady, after he was banking there, and every time he goes in there, the lady said, tell Tony he got money in his bank. Then I finally went to the bank was out of business.
Did you ever go on one of those websites, findlostmoney.com or something like that?
No, but I bet that it's a bank right in. If Salvatore was still living, he probably could tell the name of the bank. But it was, if we used to pass it when we got off there, we went right past the bank. So I wanted to have money in Allentown because we were there. I needed a place to cash my check because they gave us a check every 3 months. It was all checks. So I didn't want to carry all them checks. So the guy said, "Why? It's a bank there. If you get there, except for the account there, just take this check, deposit that check, and if you put $2,000 in the bank, then they would cash your check as long as you got enough money in the bank to cover it." So that's what the guys used to do. And so that first, I only made one deposit, one check, and I did that in order for me to cash out a check. And Salvatore Bellomo, every time he saw me, he said, "Tony, you ever go get that money?"
How much would you say was in there? One check?
About $2,500 there.
Really?
Maybe 25 or $3,500.
Yeah, I'm going to look online to see if there's a way that you can recoup that.
Yeah, I would say about 25.
No, it certainly wasn't $2,500, but I had an old bank account with a bank that shut down. It was only worth about $75, but I wound up getting a check for it.
Yeah.
$2,500 would be like found money
they wouldn't
for
even know. And I'm tell you something else about that account too. It's not under my legal name.
It's under Tony Atlas?
Under Tony Atlas.
How did they open the account under Tony Atlas? They didn't care about things like that then?
That's how it was back then.
Really?
Yeah.
Your checks didn't say Tony Atlas, did they?
Before 9/11, you could give me a plane ticket that said
really?
Tony Atlas. Yes.
Really?
Yes.
Why?
After 9/11, all of it changed. The last 20 years it changed. But I remember a lot of that. Tony Atlas. I used to do Tony Atlas all the time. Nobody. My name, I didn't start using my real name until after 9/11. It was like that. Yeah, hotel, you chanted Tony Atlas. It was Tony Atlas. Huck Hogan saying Huck Hogan. Yeah, that's how it was. Yeah.
That's interesting. I didn't know that.
Yeah, you could pay cash. I remember you pay cash. You run up to the counter about 30 minutes for your flight leave.
Yeah.
Throw cash on the table, get a ticket, run to the gate. I remember them days.
No more.
Yeah.
Well, Tony, maybe there's a way to recoup that money, but as far as Salvatore Bellomo goes, he was an undercard guy, a jobber, if you will. For the majority of his run, he had some memorable skits on WWF television. Anything that stood out to you about Salvatore? Did you ever work with him?
With him, but not against him.
Tag team?
Yep, tag team. He teamed up with me and did a show with me, and he did a lot of singer, but sometimes the Vince would put him with like me and SD, or put him with somebody, like you said, so he would drop the fall.
Right.
But there's nothing anybody bad can say about him. Mr. Fuji, for some reason, didn't like Salvatore Bellomo. For some reason. Why, I don't know. So Mr. Fuji used to get combination locks. And in old days, you had the coat with the buttons. Have big buttons.
Right, yep.
He would every night, take a button, a combination lock, and put it on Salvatore Bellomo's jacket. And when Salvatore Bellomo would go through the radar there at the airport, he would beep every time. At one time, he had like 5 alarm clocks on. But for some reason, he had a problem. Fuji had a problem with him for some reason. I don't know why, though.
But Fuji liked a rib. Did he dislike him, or was it a rib?
No, he disliked him.
He didn't personally dislike them. Okay.
Right.
It wasn't meant in fun.
Yeah, he only did that to people he didn't like. For some reason,
really?
Mr. Fuji and Salvatore Bellomo didn't get along because he used to always do stuff to him. I remember in the dressing room, he took urine one time and took his shampoo out and put urine in it, and Salvatore was in the shower dumping Fuji urine all over. He gave Salvatore Bellomo, who never did drugs a day of his life, one day he gave him a cookie that was loaded with LSD. The poor guy couldn't drive home. He had to leave his car at the building.
You know, the funny thing is, Tony, I just, it was almost like time just stopped there for a second. What does it say that I found that humorous? And what was, in real life, a horrible thing if you knew that someone did it to you. But because it happened in the locker room in professional wrestling, the boys find humor in it.
Yeah.
Why is that?
Another time, Salvatore Bellomo was on the airplane, and he was asleep, and Fuji went over, he put lipstick on it, put eyeshadow on it, and then took a cup of water and drop by drop it in his crotch. So as Salvatore, he was walking to his car, He's at the rental-car place. He ain't seen himself yet. So we there to get a rental-car, and he got lipstick on, he got eyeshadow on, and the whole front of his pants is soaking wet, and he's halfway asleep, and he ain't noticed none of it. So finally one of the boys told him, and then he ran to the bathroom, effing Fuji. But Fuji used to pick on him constantly. For what reason, I don't know.
Did it ever come to blows?
No, Salvatore was a very, very laid-back type of person, you know. And then
So
the rest
Fuji put makeup on him on a plane and poured water on his crotch, and Salvatore just kind of shrugged his shoulders?
Well, we knew Fuji did it, but you couldn't prove he did it.
Oh, okay.
Fuji
It was an
wouldn't do that.
assumption.
Yeah, Fuji, no, we knew who did it. We
Okay.
knew the Fuji ribs. But nobody would tell. We saw Fuji do it. I saw Fuji put the makeup on. But the boys, it was this thing about stooging and snitching. You know, if you tell on one of the wrestler, you're not riding in my car, brother.
Right.
I mean, there was all type of, guy would put feces in your shoes. I mean, they had some pretty.
Did that happen to Bellomo?
Oh, yeah.
Feces in his shoes?
Yeah.
Who put the feces in his shoes? Fuji used Salvatore's shoes as a toilet. He defecated in it. Wow. And you actually
Fuji
witnessed
didn't
that?
like
Or did he bring it to the
Shaw,
bathroom?
Ron Shaw, Fuji bought a combination lock, a big, heavy, thick chain, and ran it through the pants leg of all of his clothes. And he was leaving the territory, going to Louisiana somewhere. And he had to drive there. But he couldn't put his pants on. Because he took a big chain and put his shirt, all of his clothes was on this chain with a combination
And he
lock.
couldn't get the...
And the chain was a big, thick chain. Couldn't get dressed.
What did he do?
He just put on his wrestling trunks and his boots, left them on, got in the car and drove. It was in the
In
winter,
his wrestling outfit?
It was in the winter.
Oh, my God.
I have seen guys come to the airport in a wrestling jacket, their wrestling trunks, and their boots because Fuji put that chain through their clothes.
Why would he do that? Was it malicious? Was it an attempt to be funny?
Fuji always been like that. I know
But
we
I
should
mean,
be talking. I know we
his-
supposed to be talking, not be talking about Fuji, but he was rotten like that, man. He was a dirty guy.
So it was malicious. It wasn't done in
he
fun.
fed guys roadkill before. You hear that story? Where
No.
a guy was picking on Don Morocco, and Fuji brought Morocco in, was a friend of Morocco when he first started the business. They saw a dead animal on the side of the road, a dead dog that got hit by a car. Fuji wrapped him in a blanket, took it home, dressed him up and everything, invite the guy that was picking on Morocco over.
Who was
if you ever
it?
talk to Don Morocco, tell the story, and he fed him roadkill.
Who was it?
I can't remember the guy's name, but all I remember that it was Morocco that he was getting even for.
So it wasn't done in fun.
No, everything Fuji
He
did
was a cruel
yeah,
man?
that wasn't
Really?
Fuji. You mess with Fuji, he'd get you. He'd get you.
My kind of guy.
And we knew that Fuji the one that did it, but nobody could. And then
How
when
did
you
the
say
guy
he did
that
it,
ate the
Fuji
dog ever
Fuji
find
would
out?
go, not me, brother, not me, brother. But he had a certain thing, a certain type of ribs that we knew it couldn't be nobody
It was like
else.
his moves. It was his repertoire. He had a certain repertoire of ribs.
They were vicious.
Did the guy that ate the dog ever find out that it was a dog?
Oh, yeah, he showed him a dog head.
And what did the guy do?
It was a bunch of them. wasn't no one guy. There was a couple of them.
So
And what
he
Fuji-
invited people over his house
Yep,
for a meal,
yep,
and he fed
made
them all a
barbecue.
dog.
They made barbecue.
And were the guys angry?
They just all threw up and stuff, but I don't think it was a fight or nothing, you know.
Were you there?
No, I hear the story from Klondike Bill.
Yeah. And was the dog tasty? No.
You
No
know
one
it-
commented on that.
I don't know. It must be good. They ate the whole thing. And then after everybody got through eating, Fuji come out and say, how was the barbecue? Oh, very good, Mr. Fuji, very good. What about, you want more beer? Oh, no, Mr. Fuji, everything's good, Mr. Fuji. So then Fuji said, you like my barbecue? Oh, we love your barbecue, Fuji, very, very good, very good. So he had his back, pulled a dog head out and showed it to him and said, so you like roadkill, huh? Yeah, that story was around all during the 70s.
I've never heard that one.
Yep. Well, it's a NWA story.
Okay, then
Mid-Atlantic
maybe that's
story.
why.
Yeah, you know all the WWF
Right,
stuff.
right.
This is another territory. This was Fuji down in Mid-Atlantic with the Crockett's.
Wow.
He was working for Jim Crockett when he done that.
I tell you, it never ceases to amaze me what went on in the golden days of wrestling.
Like
behind
Ric
the
Flair,
scenes.
Ric Flair would go into the bathroom on an airplane and come out in his robe and flash everybody.
Now, did you ever witness that?
Yes, I did.
How would the patrons on the plane unknowingly react to seeing Rick come out and show them Space
They thought
Mountain?
it was great then.
They enjoyed it.
Oh, yeah.
Even children. Did they applaud as he walked
There
up?
wasn't as many children on planes in them days.
It was more of an adult thing.
People didn't fly kids around like they do now. I mean, in the 70s, it would be very hard to find a child on a plane. People use airplanes for business. When people flew, they flew for business. Now they use it for vacation. They use it for everything. Right. It's different now. Today, it's more kids than adults on the freaking airplane now. You know.
Well, all right, Tony.
Like the romper room or something.
Romper room. There you go.
You can't sleep on them no more. That's all you hear, screaming kids the whole time you're on the airplane.
Yeah, well, it depends on the flight, but if you go into Orlando, you're almost guaranteed.
Yeah.
I've lived it. But anyway, Tony, any final thoughts about your peer, at times tag team partner, a working associate, if you will, Salvatore Bellomo, who left us too soon?
The only thing I would like to is to give my regards to the Salvador family. I know he got a family. He was very, very close to his family. He was a family man, which most Italians are. And I just want to give my regards to his family. I know they're going to miss him more so than I will. I'm going to miss him a great deal. But I hope they'll tell him to be strong. And he gave them a lot to be proud of. To tell your peers that Salvatore Bellomo was your father or he was your spouse is something to be proud of. He was a great individual.
All right, wrestling fans, we'll be back after this brief timeout to wrap up the show. All right, keep it going, Wally. 5, 4, 3. All right, Tony, I hate to send you those text messages when I get the news, but I know you're not online a lot when we find out that these wrestlers pass away. Yeah,
it seems like it coming real frequently. But we all have our time,
Right.
And that's why what I'm saying, I'm so appreciative of Boston Wrestling because at least it gives me an opportunity, when I'm long gone, these tapes be around and people say...
Decades to come.
Yeah, but you never know.
You never know.
I mean, I was with Ronnie Piper on Legend House in 2012 where we taped it. We did a reunion in 2014.
Mm-hmm.
I met him at the Rock and Sock in Worcester, Massachusetts, I believe was 2015.
Mm-hmm.
And then what year he passed?
I think he passed in 2015, so the convention was probably in 14. Yeah, but I know what you mean.
Yeah, a year. We were sitting on that stage. I even got a picture of all of us on the reunion show.
Really?
Not in 1,000 years. It's just like me and Gene Oker. I was with me and Gene Oker at the big event there not too long ago. I was just with me and Gene. And now he's gone.
You never know. But I mean, at least Gene was in his 70s.
When you stop to think about it, in 2012, 2014, which is only 5 years ago, me and Gene was here, and Pipe was here 5 years ago.
Right.
Nikolai Volkoff, I just saw him at that big event that they had in New York, at the LaGuardia.
Yeah.
He was there. See?
And again,
he was booked the following month.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he was booked on some show because I saw the poster, it had his picture on the poster. And he wasn't there. There were people already had him booked for stuff. And he was not there to make his bookings.
That's a real
Probably
shame.
the first booking he ever missed in his life.
He didn't want to miss the payday, that's for sure.
Yeah.
He didn't want to miss the payday.
See, so life, my mother used to always say, enjoy today, for tomorrow is promised to no one. There's no guarantee that these people will ever see me again. This could be my last
We
day
hope
on
that's
earth.
not the case, Tony. Please.
Well, you don't know.
I don't know. It could be the last one for me.
And you could look as healthy as possible. I saw the big boss man. We was in Tennessee, worked for a guy called Jeff Timberlake. Sensational Sheriff was on that show. And I told him I was running shows up here in Maine. And he said, I was thinking about, he said, a guy want me to put together a show for him. He said, I never did one before. And he said, what should I do? So I said, well, I got a little menu that I made up of things that I do, sponsor, how to get sponsorship and all this, that. And he said, well, can you mail me a copy of it? I said, I'd be glad to. So I flew home. A week went by, 2 weeks went by. I said, oh, shoot, I forgot to call a big boss man. So I called him. His wife picked up the phone. Said, I'm sorry, Tony, but he's gone.
Wow.
She said they were sitting at TV, watching TV, and all of a sudden, she said she was getting sleepy. So she said, well, you coming upstairs? He said, yeah, as soon as this is over with. So she went upstairs, she fell asleep, and then something told her to wake up. So she went downstairs because the TV was still running. So she saw him sitting in the chair. She thought he fell asleep. She said, oh, he fell asleep in the chair. She go to wake him and tell him to come upstairs. He didn't wake up.
Wow.
S.D. Jones, inducted me into the Hall of Fame, 2006.
Yeah.
2008, gone.
Now, what did S.D. pass of?
He had a stroke.
He had a stroke.
Yeah.
Was that expected or?
No.
No, he was in good health before that?
Nothing. Nothing. I asked Kate. I said, was he sick? Was he ill? Was there anything? She said, no. She said, what happened? This is his wife. He was watching, they had a cookout that day. They invited all the family over there. They had a barbecue and they cooked a lot of food. They had a few drinks. They had a good time, she said. He had a wonderful time. And SD said, oh, I got to watch my wrestling. Because he still liked watching his wrestling. So Raw or even SmackDown was coming on. So SD went to turn the TV on and went and sat down. And Kate came in, his wife, said, SD, did you feed the dogs? And SD said, oh, no. He got up, went and fed the dogs, came back. Kate was in the kitchen washing dishes. And she said that he heard SD call her name. Said, Kate. But she said it was strange, the sound of his voice. So she said she turned to see what was wrong because the voice sounds strange. And said he grabbed his arm and fell to the floor.
And that was it. What did grabbing the arm indicate?
Probably with pain. I don't know, but that's what she told me. He grabbed his arm and fell to the floor. Randy Savage. I was with Leonard Parfo out in California, and Leonard's supposed to be at the show, and then Leonard called and said that I can't make it because he had to change flights in Texas. Mm-hmm. He said, I can't make the show. I just got a text. My brother just passed. And then I hear the story about what happened with Randy. Randy was driving his wife somewhere.
Coming home from lunch, I think.
Coming home from lunch. And then you look at the Ultimate Warrior, went to the WrestleMania.
Well, he wasn't exactly the pillar of health during that appearance. He was beat red, and he kept wiping his face with a towel as it was all sweaty.
Really?
So I wasn't exactly, I was surprised to see a man that young pass away. But if you look back at what went on that weekend, I mean, he looked terrible.
People say that. They say he didn't look well.
No, he didn't look good. Unfortunately, it is what it is, Tony. We're running out of time again. Here, we'll be back next Monday. Don't forget, WWE Monday Night Raw is going to be emanating from the TD Garden right here in Boston. We're going to be back earlier in the day with a brand new Wrestling Insiders. You're not going to want to miss this one. Tony doesn't know what we're going to talk about yet, but I can't wait to hear how he responds to it. You know it's going to be interesting.
And don't forget, 2020,
oh, here we go.
Vote Tony Atlas for president.
That wasn't enough, fans. WrestleMania weekend, we have not one but two brand new episodes of Memories and Legends as we kick off Series 3. Also on WrestleMania Sunday itself, we're going to have an MWF Chapter 2 town hall meeting with myself, President Dr. David Reese, and Tony. It's going to be very interesting to find out what's going on there. And again, we got the Patreon, we got the eBay, baby. Look at this. Tony's prints of his drawings, 11 by 17. We even have authentic artwork of Tony's. You can even commission the man. He's for hire. Not like any of those women that Bob Kraft knew. Beautiful.
That's right.
Beautiful.
Now, y'all want to buy my print, y'all want to get my DVDs, and come and see me because 2020 I'll be too busy for this.
You're going to be running for president.
I'm going to be president.
Primaries,
I'm going to have my handful of all all the trouble in the world and work things out, everything. I just got to find a good vice president. I didn't figure out who they're going to be.
Well, maybe it'll be me. So again, share, and subscribe on YouTube to keep all the great content coming your way. We want to do it for as little cost as possible or absolutely free if we can get more of you great fans involved in the process. For the Hall of Famer, Tony Atlas, I'm Dan Morati. We'll see you next Monday on Wrestling Insiders. Good night.
See the moments.
Generation X invades WCW.
remember. Like never before.
Occupy Raw has taken over.
With Raw, the first 25 years, packed with rare photos, profiles of your favorite superstars, and so much more. From the very first Raw to the 25th anniversary, it's the ultimate guide to WWE's flagship show. Raw, the first 25 years. Available now